Hey guys, tonight we're starting an exploration of one of history's riskiest romantic entanglements. It's a tale that turned holy foliage into vast fortunes, changed healers into dependents, and created tycoons from outlaws. This is the tale of cocaine. Yet here's a fact few realize. 8,000 years prior to movies, before Pablo Escobar, before Sigmund Freud inhaled his path through Vienna's elite circles, there existed a kingdom that grasped this plant's strength so profoundly, they saw it as a divine present. And they weren't far off. Before we jump into this amazing narrative as a group, I'd like a quick favor. If you're already tucked in bed, fixing your cushion, perhaps with that fan humming softly, great. What I'd appreciate is tapping the subscribe option. Like this video, but only if you truly like our discussion. No rush. And I'm interested. Where are you viewing from at this moment? What's the time there? Leave a note in the comments. I check them all. And I enjoy realizing we're spread worldwide, but still connected in this instant. Now, dim the lights. Allow the soft buzz of evening to calm you. And let's go back 8,000 years to an era when cocaine wasn't cocaine. It was merely coca, the holy leaf. Imagine it. The year is about 6,000 BCE. Much of humankind is still learning farming basics, erecting stable dwellings, avoiding wild animals. But up in South America's Andes Mountains, something amazing unfolds. Native groups near the Pacific shore are uncovering something special about a specific bush with tender green leaves. They munch these leaves, and abruptly hunger fades. The tiredness from scaling harsh mountain roots vanishes. The sparse air that turns each gasp into a struggle becomes bearable. I need you to grasp something key here. This isn't like finding coffee. It's unique since coca leaves hold a substance later extracted as cocaine, but in raw form, chewed with lime from charred shells or vegetable ash, it's milder, more enduring. The Andean folks weren't buzzing like we imagine now. They were enduring. Jump to around 1200 CE. Here come the Incas. And this is where the tale turns truly engaging, as the Incas didn't merely consume coca, they revered it. They constructed a whole imperial economy on it. They crafted myths around it. There's this poignant legend, sad yet lovely, about a lady named Coca. Per Inca spoken history, Coca was so strikingly, crushingly beautiful that no male in the kingdom could withstand her. Every guy who spotted her fell deeply, desperately in love. And Coca, she was aware. She wielded her influence, toyed with men, shattered hearts everywhere. Soon, news hit the mighty Inca himself, the ruler, and he raged. This lady was sparking disorder, upsetting societal norms. So he chose what feels savage to us today, but, well, Inca rulings were quick. He commanded coca sacrificed, split in two, interred. But here's the enchanting twist. From her burial spot, a plant emerged. A wondrous plant with green leaves that provided power, energy, eased agony and hardship. The folks called it coca in her memory. Since even after death, coca offered them something compelling, something essential. Now, legend or not, it reveals something deep about Inca views on coca. This wasn't merely foliage, it was holy, sacred, a boon or maybe a burden from the deities. Let me sketch how thoroughly coca infused Inca life. Envision yourself as an Inca ruler. You're on your seat in Cusco, hub of the largest kingdom South America ever knew. Your realm spans from today's Colombia down to Chile, almost 3,000 miles of land. You rule millions. And one of your strongest assets, not arms, not riches, it's coca leaves. This is how it functioned. Coca was so treasured, so rare that it was mostly saved for the upper class. Regular folks? They could chew coca only for key events, weddings, maturity rites, home-building customs. But for the nobles, clerics, troops, for elite messengers named Chasquis, coca was routine. The Chasquis, these fellows were astonishing. Think of a chain of youthful, fit men posted at spots along Inca paths. Their role, carry news across the realm by running. No steeds. South America's horses vanished millennia back. Just legs, resolve, and coca leaves. These couriers chewed coca non-stop, and they might span roughly 200 kilometers, 124 miles daily. Consider that, sprinting via mountain gaps at 13,000 feet in thin air on rugged ground, keeping a speed that would tire current long-distance runners, all due to coca. But this is where it darkens, and grasping this matters. The Inca realm operated on a setup called Mita. It was basically a work levy. Every fit man owed state labor, making roads, raising shrines, tilling public fields, or toughest, mining. And the realm sustained these laborers by handing out coca leaves. It wasn't merely a prize, it was energy. It dulled hunger when meals were short. It muted ache when forms failed. It kept folks laboring when they ought to drop. Some scholars, and this is intriguing, think coca enabled the Inca realm. Those huge rock builds you view at spots like Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman, with blocks so exact you can't slip a blade between them. Blocks heavy hundreds of tons hauled up hills without wheels or beasts. Coca mixed with chicha, that's brewed corn drink, gave laborers extraordinary stamina. But the religious aspect was equally vital. When an Inca cleric sought divine talk, he'd ignite coca leaves with llama grease and watch the fire. The smoke design, flame hue. This predicted futures, guided big choices, decided war or peace. Before a new home, families buried coca leaves in foundations as gifts to Pachamama, Earth Mother, seeking leave to alter her soil. And at death, coca leaves went in mouths, stowed in sacks for the beyond. Even Inca mummies, yes, they preserved their rulers, were unearthed with coca in mouths and coca bags nearby. Since death didn't halt coca needs, archaeologists uncovered something stunning. Signs of Inca skull surgery, trepanation it's termed. They bored holes in heads, perhaps to ease altitude pressure, perhaps to free bad spirits, we're unsure. But here's the surprise. They had surprisingly good success. Over half the skulls display bone regrowth, so patients lived months or years post-surgery. How? How did they do brain ops with bronze gear and no current numbing? The response, partly at least, is coca. Patients drank coca liquid, which dulled pain and stimulated nerves, somehow making it tolerable. It's basic, yes, terrifying, surely, but also rather clever. Now, this will amaze you. Recent lab tests show coca leaves aren't only energizers, they're nutritious too. They have key vitamins, minerals, protein, calcium, iron, stuff scarce in high Andes where usual farming was tough. So when Spanish writers later called coca a divine gift, they weren't totally mistaken. In a spot where veggies were hard to grow, coca truly aided survival. But a shadow looms over this, and we must discuss it. While coca was holy to Inca elites, used in sacred rites and respected, it was also control. The state monopolized coca growth. They decided who got it, when, how much. And for laborers straining in those Mita tasks, coca wasn't a gift, it was a bind. It pushed them beyond fatigue, beyond hunger, beyond when bodies begged to halt. The realm used coca to squeeze max work from min people. It's uneasy to consider, but factual. Coca fostered dependency. Not quite the addiction we link to refined cocaine, but reliance. Workers adapted to it. They required it for harsh settings, and the realm knew. They turned it into a weapon. There's this eerie report from later Spanish writers. We'll reach them in Part 2. Describing Mita groups forcibly moved to coca farms in warm, damp areas. These mountain folks weren't suited to those spots. They fell ill. One Spaniard noted in 1567 that 6 of 10 Mita workers died from what they termed Andes sickness. They were dying to make more coca, which then controlled more workers who died making more coca. See the loop? Before advancing, pause with this a second. For almost 4,000 years, from those early coastal groups around 6,000 BCE to the Inca peak in the 1500s, coca held a sort of equilibrium. Yes, exploited, yes, for control, but also truly sacred. It wove into life, faith, healing, rituals, work. Neither fully good nor bad, it simply existed. But that equilibrium, that nuanced bond between humans and plant, was set to shatter. Because in 1532, an event altered all. Ships showed on the skyline. Men in steel gear who'd never heard Cuca's tale, who knew zilch of Mita festivals or holy coca fumes. Men who eyed Inca wealth and craved it fully. The Spanish arrived. And when empires clashed, one viewing coca as holy and one seeing it as, well, the tale's about to darken deeply. Because what Spanish did with coca, how they shifted it from holy leaf to tool of mass death and gain, is among history's harshest episodes. And we'll cover every troubling detail. But that's next. For now, let your thoughts linger on those Andean heights, on a kingdom at its zenith, on young Chasquis dashing through passes with coca in cheeks, on clerics reading sacred fires, on folks who truly thought they'd received a divine boon. Because that realm, that equilibrium, was ending forever. And the effects, they still resound in our world now. Sleep soundly. We'll resume this path together shortly. So, the Spanish conquerors reached shores of future Peru, and everything, utterly everything, was set to shift. Now, picture this with me briefly. You're Francisco Pizarro. It's 1532. You've crossed an ocean with under 200 men, facing a kingdom of millions. The Inca realm extends beyond sight, with gold-clad temples, huge stone strongholds, and an army that logically should smash you flat. You're vastly outnumbered. But you possess what they lack: metal blades, horses, and a particular European boldness claiming divine favor. And then you spot something odd, something each Inca seems to have: a tiny bag, green leaves. They're always chewing these, seeming to gain vigor, stamina, ability to labor in conditions killing your men. Initially, the Spanish were appalled. When conquerors and following priests saw Inca chewing coca, they didn't view holy custom. They viewed demonic rites. No exaggeration. The Catholic Church first deemed coca Satan's tool. View it their way. Here's a plant granting energy sans food, used in heathen ceremonies, making folks feel joyful. Obviously evil, right? In the 1550s, Spanish rulers tried banning coca totally. They made declarations, warned of penalties, even attempted ruining coca farms. Spanish clerics sent fervent notes to Spain, calling coca the vilest plant, most harmful to natives. They truly thought coca blocked full Christian conversion by linking to old gods. But here's where the tale twists in a grim, nearly laughably expected way. While Spanish church labeled coca devil's leaf, Spanish merchants crunched numbers. Let me outline what occurred, as this turns truly wicked. Recall Potosi, the Bolivian mountain with the globe's largest silver finds. Potosi wasn't merely rich, it was absurdly, world-altering wealthy. At height in late 1500s and early 1600s, this lone peak yielded over half global silver, enough to back Spanish Armada, fund Spain's endless European conflicts, make Spanish realm Earth's top force. But an issue. Silver mining is grueling, body-breaking toil. Potosi mines dove deep, eventually hundreds feet into peak. Air thin at altitude, over 13,000 feet, conditions deadly. Workers perished from collapses, from silicosis, that's lungs filling with dust. Slow suffocation from weariness, illness. The Spanish required laborers, millions, and needed those laborers at peak levels, 16-hour shifts in settings killing most in months. Enter Coca. Some Spanish merchant, unknown who, but I'd shake their hand then punch their face, calculated. They saw native workers chewing coca labored longer, harder, with less meals. Noted coca hid hunger, masked fatigue, made unbearable settings slightly endurable. So Spanish did what colonizers excel at. They weaponized it. Abruptly, coca shifted from forbidden item to required supply. The Mita setup, that Inca work levy from Part 1, was stretched and worsened beyond belief. Spanish rulers rounded native men, forced them mining, paid partly in coca leaves, not from care, because coca boosted productivity before death. And let me clarify, this was genocide via work. Scholars estimate between 1545 and early 1800s, about 8 million natives died in Potosi mines. 8 million. More than Virginia and Maryland populations combined. Just vanished, labored to death. And coca fueled it. Here's a quote haunting me since reading. Spanish official Juan Matienzo wrote in 1567 that in coca areas, 6 of every 10 workers died from Andes sickness. Not from coca, but from forced move from high homes to hot, humid valleys for coca growth, where no disease resistance, no climate fit. They died thousands. For what? More coca production. To sustain more miners extracting more silver, Spanish made a death loop. Coca enabled mining. Mining needed more workers. Workers needed more coca. Coca making killed workers, and it spun. But this complicates. Coca making also turned hugely profitable. By late 1500s, one Spanish recorder wrote, "In Potosi alone, coca trade hits over 500,000 pesos yearly for 95,000 baskets consumed." 500,000 pesos. In modern terms, hard to exact, but tens millions dollars annual from one city's coca use. And Potosi was one spot. Spanish traders and settlers controlling coca farms grew rich beyond dreams. By early 1600s, 1,500 to 2,000 Spanish merchants lived fully from selling coca leaves to native workers. Another recorder said major funds from Peru to Spain came from what Indians paid for this leaf. Ponder that. Most wealth exiting Peru, gold, silver, all, at least partly from coca. Natives basically worked to death for coca, needed to keep working to death. Now, not all Spaniards supported this. Real debate existed. Some Spanish officials argued strongly for coca ban. They cited deaths, abuse, how coca enriched few while ruining populations. Spanish recorder Pedro Sarmiento de Gamboa noted coca left at key ritual spots in ex-Inca realm, calling it Inca's top plant gift, and he was upset how Spanish twisted sacred to pure extraction. But other Spaniards backed coca just as strongly. Juan de Matienzo, same documenting deaths, wrote coca made Indians ignore hunger or thirst, gain more energy and strength, argued ending coca ends Peru. His reasoning, whole colonial economy depended on coca. Remove it, mines stop, farms fail, wealth halts. He wasn't wrong. He just described nightmare economy on dependency and death like good. Debate reached Spain. In 1569, King Philip II issued notable order. He admitted coca vital for Andean natives' health, but pushed missionaries to stop religious use. Basically, let chew for work, but halt pagan rites. Masterclass in colonial doublespeak. And here's something crazy. Spanish so reliant on coca for mining, they improved growth methods. Recall Part 1. Coca output rose 40 to 50 times post-Spanish conquest. No overstatement. Under Incas, coca precious, limited, controlled. Under Spanish, industrial crop. Huge farms, advanced drying, distribution like modern logistics envy. Spanish turned coca from holy leaf to product. Doing so, they changed coca's meaning. Because here's the point, hear this. Coca under Incas exploitative, yes, but also true worldview part. Sacred and worldly, spiritual and useful, honored and applied. Complexity there. But Spanish stripped that, removed right, honor, cultural sense. What stayed purely transactional. Leaf for work, work for silver, silver for realm. Coca became, first in 8,000-year history, just drug, tool, means. And common natives who, under Incas, got coca only special times, now could buy, since Spanish sellers sold to payers. Coca democratized, but worst way. Spread from elite to masses, not gift, but needed evil. Workers required it for brutal settings, went from privilege to chain. Heartbreaking irony here. Spanish came to Americas claiming civilization, Christianity, salvation. Condemned coca as demonic, then built economy depending on millions consuming max coca to extract wealth for Europe. See hypocrisy? Staggering, deadly hypocrisy. One Spanish cleric, Garcilaso de la Vega, simplifying name, wrote late 1500s defending coca's healing traits, described use for sicknesses, bone mends, tooth care. But other clergy shouted him down, insisting benefits superstition. Devil convinced Indians coca removed hunger and thirst. Devil. Blamed devil for plants' real, measurable effects, because admitting coca had true benefits complicated narrative. Forced confront exploiting something valuable, something natives understood, used sustainably millennia. By 1600, coca fully changed. Once coca's holy leaf, God's gift, empire fuel, became what? Colonial crop, genocide tool, needed evil keeping Spanish imperialism wheels turning. All that and none. Because even exploiting coca to death, literally, Spanish never grasped it. Never science. Never isolated active part. Never asked, what chemically is this plant? Just used, profited. And when colonial era crumbled late 1700s, early 1800s, left complex legacy. Andean natives kept chewing coca as for 8,000 years. But now, different meanings. Still sacred some, but reminder worst Western Hemisphere genocide. And coca itself, set for a different path. While Spanish conquered Inca realm, weaponized coca also unwittingly spread plant knowledge to Europe. Scientists noted, chemists grew curious, and 19th century someone asked dangerous question. What exactly in coca leaves makes so strong? That question and found answer would alter world again. But destruction global this time. We'll cover next. But now ponder this. Every cocaine line snorted, every coca leaf chewed, every life lost to drug trade centuries after. All traces to this instant, empires clash. Spanish choice profit over humanity, sacred to pure extraction transform. Spanish thought conquering plant. No idea plant about conquer them back. For nearly 3 centuries post-Spanish conquest, coca stayed locked in America's regional product, colonial asset, but mostly unknown wider world. Then something odd occurred, or rather, didn't. Europe, peak Enlightenment age, obsessed cataloging, grasping, exploiting every plant, creature, mineral possible. Coffee Arabia, tea China, opium India. These spread global, changed economies, sparked wars. But coca stayed. Question should keep awake is why? Because here's fascinating. Coca leaves travel poorly. Remember, pre-refrigeration, pre-sealed containers, pre-real alkaloid preserved knowledge. When Spanish traders tried shipping coca leaves Europe, 1600s, 1700s, by arrival Madrid or London after months sea, they were junk, brittle, brown, ineffective. Active compounds degraded. European scientists tested leaves, found unremarkable. So coca gained rep Europe as exotic oddity, probably not special. Spanish reports natives working day no food. Exaggeration. Superhuman stamina stories. Colonial hype. Few European explorers actually South America saw coca effects firsthand, dismissed, credibility questioned. But Andes, life continued brutal pace. 1700s, Spanish-built coca economy ground on. In Yungas area, now Bolivia, lush, humid valleys east Andes slope. Coca farms expanded steadily. First 200 years post-conquest. Farms mostly run native groups paying tribute Spanish landlords via encomienda. Basically, keep land but owe coca leaves and work. But early 1700s shift. Ambitious Spaniards saw more money seizing direct control. Established huge haciendas. Estates worked natives between employees, slaves, depending asker honesty. These coca haciendas became South America's wealthiest ag ops. Owning families formed commercial elite. Europeanized upper class eventually shaped region politics. Picture irony. Coca, once sacred, only Incas distribute freely, now making Spanish colonial families hugely rich. Plant unchanged, relationship had. Now, while happening, something else brewing, literally. Mid-1700s, first hints coca breaking South American confines. European explorers improved. Took precise notes, preserved samples better, asked sophisticated questions. 1. Alexander von Humboldt. Heard him? Probably not, unless science fan. But guy basically naturalists Indiana Jones. 1799 to 1804. Humboldt toured South America documenting all. Plants, animals, maps, native cultures, everything. And met coca. Humboldt observed natives chewing coca expeditions. Took samples, made sketches. Wrote detailed notes on coca effects physiology, Importance Andean culture. Unlike prior European accounts, dismissive or sensational, Humboldt approached scientifically. No moralizing, no judging, just observed. And published findings, Europe. Suddenly, Coca had science cred. Other naturalists followed. Early 1800s, Coca mentioned European botany journals. Not devil leaf, but true science curiosity. What plant? How work? Why profound effects Andes? But London tests find nothing. That frustrating, tempting question drove European scientists bit mad. By now, chemistry, real science. Scientists isolated alkaloids, other plants. Morphine, opium, 1804. Caffeine, coffee, 1819. Nicotine, tobacco, 1828. Chemistry rolling. And Coca puzzle didn't fit. Here's politics interesting. Coca tangled nationalism, identity, South America. 1825, post-centuries colonial. Upper Peru region, Potosi areas. Independent became Bolivia. Named Simón Bolívar, Great Liberator. Suddenly, Coca not just Spanish colonial product. Potentially national item, new independent nations. Peru independent 1821. Bolivia 1825. These new countries figuring identities. What mean Peruvian, Bolivian? Where Coca fit? Some elites wanted distance Coca. Reminded indigenous ways, colonial abuse, poverty. Associated Coca backwardness. These Europe-educated, wore European garb, wanted countries serious European eyes. And Coca felt embarrassingly local. But other voices resisted. Argued Coca South American legacy, thousands years indigenous wisdom. Shouldn't abandon, just Europeans misunderstand. This debate, modern versus tradition, European identity versus indigenous roots, echoed South American politics next 2 centuries, still today. Meanwhile, valleys, mountains, ordinary folks kept chewing Coca. Because whatever political elites Lima or La Paz thought, if farmer working 12,000 feet, or miner cold underground dark, or carrier heavy loads mountain passes, Coca helped. Practical, traditional. What father did, grandfather before, back further anyone recall. And hacienda owners controlling Coca production didn't care national identity debates. Cared profit, business good. Early 1800s, Coca use actually rose Andes. As populations somewhat recovered catastrophic colonial losses, demand grew. New markets opened. Bolivian Coca traded north, Argentina, Chile. Networks expanded, but still, crucial, Coca almost fully confined South America. Few dried leaves might reach European museum lab. Few traveler accounts mention, but average European or North American, Coca unknown. Existed parallel universe, hugely important one world part, invisible elsewhere. That isolation ending, but needed specific circumstances align. First, someone chemistry skilled isolate Coca's active alkaloid, frustrated scientists decades. Second, fresh coca leaves, or least not fully degraded, transport. Third, someone cared enough try. Because honestly, 1850s, Coca not top European science list. All 3 conditions aligned, unlikely place, German University Lab. Year 1855. Chemist Friedrich Gedke apologized German speaker's pronunciation, extracted something coca leaves. Called erythroxyline after plant science name erythroxylum. Published paper describing nothing happened because Gedke's extraction crude, impure, inconsistent. Found something, sure, but couldn't purify properly. His erythroxyline contaminated oily residues other compounds. Start, but not breakthrough. 4 years later, 1859, stars aligned. Austrian frigate Novara world scientific voyage collecting samples. Stopped, Peru, scientist aboard, Karl von Scherzer clever. Bought trunk fresh coca leaves, arranged fast ship Germany. These leaves better preserved any prior Europe. Scherzer sent one, Germany's top chemists, Professor Friedrich Wohler, University Göttingen. Wohler intrigued but busy. So did professors do. Gave project grad student, PhD candidate Albert Niemann. And Albert Niemann about change history. Now, imagine Niemann moment. You're 25, pharmacist apprentice turned chemistry student. Smart, methodical, ambitious. Professor handed trunk strange South American leaves, said, figure what makes special. How start? Remember, 1859. No gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, tools modern chemists assume. Glassware, heat, solvents, lots trial error ahead. Niemann spent months. Tried different extraction methods, solvents, temperatures. Kept careful notes everything. These notes published 1860 doctoral dissertation, absolutely fascinating read today. Described every process step. How ground leaves, ethanol water mix used, filtered impurities, temperature, evaporation. And slowly, painstakingly, isolated something. White crystals, colorless, transparent, odorless, beautiful purity. Named cocaine from coca plus ene alkaloid suffix. And then, thorough scientist tested himself. Wrote, translating German, solutions alkaline reaction, bitter taste, increase saliva flow, leave peculiar numbness followed cold sense applied tongue. That sentence, peculiar numbness, Niemann discovered local anesthesia. Just didn't realize yet. Noted numbing, wrote. Mostly moved describing cocaine other properties. Melting point, chemical behavior, reactions different acids. To Niemann, numbing one trait among many. Interesting, not revolutionary. Then, January 1861, year post-breakthrough dissertation, Albert Niemann died. 26 years old. Official cause, lung saturation, but historians believe death likely mustard gas exposure, other chemical experiments. 1. History's key discoveries. Discoverer didn't live see any. Colleague Wilhelm Lawson continued Niemann's work, finally set cocaine exact formula 1862. But by then, genie out bottle. Cocaine, pure crystalline, powerful cocaine, existed European labs. Scientists could study, chemists synthesize, pharmaceutical companies manufacture. For 8,000 years, coca leaves, plant material, organic, whole. Now suddenly white powder, chemical, molecule, separated botanical context. And transformation plant to powder proved far more dangerous anyone 1860 imagine. Because leaf releases limited alkaloid chewed. Natural limits, but pure cocaine, concentrated cocaine, that's something else. That bomb waiting explode, and fuse already lit. 23 years post Albert Niemann's death, broke, ambitious, deeply insecure young Vienna doctor read article. Ruin reputation, destroy closest friendship. Inadvertently launch cocaine Western world consciousness. Names Sigmund Freud, April 1884, about make one medical history's spectacular errors. But back up second. Understand Freud's cocaine mess. Need understand life stage. 28 years old. Brilliant. Everyone agrees. But stuck. Low-pay research spot, Vienna General Hospital. Desperately love woman Martha Bernays, can't afford Mary. Career stalling. Watching colleagues get acclaim, publish key papers, build names while he, what? Studying fish spinal cords, not glory path. Freud hungry. Not food, though broke, but fame, recognition, discovery make medical world notice. Wanted matter. Then April 1884, read medical journal article, German army surgeon Theodor Aschenbrett given cocaine Bavarian soldiers boost endurance military drills. Results remarkable. Soldiers march longer, fight harder, need less food rest. Freud thought, this it, my chance. April 21, 1884, Freud wrote fiancée Martha, and letter, hear this, letter both funny, deeply disturbing. Writes, been reading cocaine, active part coca leaves, some Indian groups chew resist hardship fatigue. 3 days later, April 24th, orders 1st gram cocaine local pharmacy. Cost about 10 marks, not cheap, someone broke Freud. Then did good scientist, tried himself. Now, things get wild. Freud didn't try cocaine once, twice research. Fell love completely, utterly, head over heels. Within weeks, taking cocaine regularly. Against depression, indigestion, wrote Martha. Most brilliant success. But gets better or worse, perspective. June 2, 1884. Freud wrote another infamous letter, Martha. Feeling cocaine, good, confident, writes, quoting, woe you my princess, when come, kiss you quite red feed plump. If forward, see stronger, gentle little girl doesn't eat enough, or big wild man cocaine body. Read again. Big wild man cocaine body. Psychoanalysis father, ladies, gentlemen, basically texting fiancé how cocaine made feel superhero. If not most 1880s thing heard, don't know what. But Freud wasn't just recreational cocaine, genuinely believed discovered miracle drug. July 1884, 3 months post first try, published paper titled Über Coca, on coca, German. And paper actually beautifully written, thorough, complete review, everything known, coca, cocaine time. Freud discussed plant history, indigenous South American use, Niemann isolation, cocaine. Then, most key, described own drug experiments, enthusiastic, wildly, recklessly enthusiastic. Freud wrote, cocaine produced exhilaration, lasting euphoria. No way differs normal euphoria, healthy person. Claimed suppressed hunger, fatigue, increased physical, mental capacity. And kicker, claimed not addictive. Wrote, paraphrasing, repeated cocaine doses, no compulsion, further use. No addiction, dependence, just pure benefit. Wrong. Catastrophically, tragically wrong. Freud recommended cocaine sorts conditions: depression, nervous exhaustion, digestive issues, asthma. Then, important, suggested treat morphine, alcohol addiction. Logic seems sound. If cocaine makes feel good, not addictive, use. Wean off addictive drugs. Replace bad drug, good drug. Solved. Except cocaine addictive, intensely. But Freud didn't know yet. Nobody. Now, here's tragedy enters story. Freud, close friend colleague, Ernst von Fleischl-Marxow. Fleischl-Marxow, brilliant, physiologist, researcher, same hospital Freud, but suffering. Years earlier, injured thumb autopsy, developed horrific infection, had thumb amputated. Pain never stopped. Phantom limb pain, nerve damage, constant agony. Manage pain, prescribed morphine. By 1884, Fleischl-Marxo deeply, hopelessly morphine addicted. Freud loved man, admired, desperately wanted help. Thought, solution, cocaine. So Freud started treating Fleischl-Marxo, cocaine, get off morphine, cure addiction. Disaster. What happened? Predictable. Hindsight. Horrifying witness. Fleischl-Marxo reduced morphine first, but only replacing massive cocaine amounts. Within months, injecting cocaine, not oral like Freud recommended, but veins directly. Doses escalated. 1 gram day, then more, much more. Freud watched friend decline. Fleischl-Marxo developed cocaine psychosis, hallucinated. Thought insects crawling skin. Call coke bugs now. Became paranoid, violent, unrecognizable. And morphine addiction still, not cured. Just added second devastating addiction. Fleischl-Marxo bankrupted buying cocaine. Sold everything owned, feed habit. 1891, age 44, died. Exhausted, broken, destroyed drug Freud assured safe. Freud devastated, guilt-ridden, haunted, done. Essentially stopped public cocaine talk post-1887. Never fully admitted mistake, not Freud's style, but quietly removed cocaine miracle cures list. Later developed psychoanalysis, see shadows disaster work. Obsession, unconscious guilt, rationalized mistakes, self-deception, all colored cocaine catastrophe. But here's really frustrating part. Freud so close genuine important discovery. Remember part 3, Niemann noted peculiar numbness. Freud noticed too. Über coca paper, mentioned almost afterthought second last paragraph. Cocaine marked anesthetizing effect. Contact skin, mucous membrane, concentrated solution. Even suggested useful local anesthetic. Then didn't follow. Why? Freud, hurry. August 1884. Right post Über coca, left Vienna. Visit Martha. Love. Excited. Wanted see fiancé. Before leaving, mentioned anesthetic properties cocaine 2 colleagues. Leopold Konigstein, Karl Koller. Suggested experiment. Then left town. While Freud away, Karl Koller, also 28, ambitious, desperate recognition, did experiments. Koller, ophthalmologist. Searched years, good local anesthetic eye surgery. Cocaine perfect. Koller started animals, frogs, rabbits, dog. Put cocaine solution eyes, tested pain response. Nothing. Total numbness. Then makes wince, experimented himself. Put cocaine solution own eye, weighted effect, pricked eyeball pins. No pain. Done it. Discovered local anesthesia. September 15, 1884, weeks post-Freud Vienna leave. Koller presented findings Ophthalmological Congress, Heidelberg, Germany. Medical world exploded. Suddenly, pain-free eye surgery possible. Glaucoma ops, cataract removals. Once excruciating procedures now performed patient awake, comfortable. Koller, famous overnight. Name every European medical journal. And Freud returned vacation. Discover missed immortal glory weeks. Imagine? Discover something revolutionary, or notice, then leave town, someone else gets credit. Rest, Freud's life, people ask Koller's discovery, pointed Freud close. Ate at him. Decades later, Freud still bitter. But Koller's discovery, revolutionary, opened Pandora's box. Suddenly, cocaine not exotic stimulant, medical journals, useful drug, marketable drug. Pharmaceutical companies, starting become powerful entities, know today, saw chance. German giant Merck started mass-producing cocaine. American Parke-Davis eventually absorbed Pfizer, began U.S. manufacturing. By 1885, less year post Koller's announcement, buy pharmaceutical-grade cocaine any major Europe, North America city. Doctors started prescribing everything. Cocaine, toothaches, depression, asthma, hay fever, alcoholism. Yes, still, despite Freud's Fleischl-Marxow disaster, most doctors hadn't heard yet. Cocaine sexual issues, cocaine fatigue, cocaine boost athletic performance, cocaine children, yes, children, treat teething pain, nervousness. Parke-Davis particularly all-in cocaine marketing. Sponsored Freud, gave money, free cocaine, asked endorse products. Freud, despite private doubts post-Fleischl-Marxow disaster, took money. Broke, remember? Parke-Davis paying $24 endorsement, not much, but 1880s money significant. Company published pamphlets claiming cocaine substitute food, make coward brave, silent, eloquent. Marketed cocaine lozenges, throat sprays, cigarettes, even sold injection kits, syringe, cocaine solution vial, self-injection instructions casually like aspirin today. And not just pharmaceutical companies. Patent medicine makers, quack industry jumped cocaine bandwagon too. Suddenly, market-flooded tonics, elixirs, medicine significant cocaine, but marketed harmless. Want famous example? Stay, going important. 1886, 2 years post-Freud Über Coca, Confederate vet pharmacist Atlanta, Georgia, John Pemberton struggling. Injured Civil War, saber chest wound left chronic pain. Like Fleischl-Marxow, Pemberton morphine-addicted managing pain. Like Freud, thought cocaine solution. Pemberton already created popular drink Pemberton's French wine coca. Basically wine-mixed coca extract, modeled European Vin Mariani popular upper classes. Even Pope Leo XIII reportedly carried Vin Mariani flask, awarded Creator Vatican gold medal. That's mainstream coca-laced wine. But 1886, Atlanta Prohibition laws, no alcohol. So Pemberton needed non-alcoholic coca wine version. Experimented formulas, mixing coca extract, cola nut extract, caffeine source, sugar syrup, various flavors. Bookkeeper Frank Robinson suggested alliterative, catchy name, Coca-Cola. May 8, 1886, first Coca-Cola glass served Jacob's Pharmacy, Atlanta. Marketed brain tonic temperance drink, cure headaches, exhaustion, nervous issues. Yes, contained cocaine, about 9 milligrams glass, later analyses. Now, clear, 9 milligrams not huge. Not enough wildly high, but enough notice. Little buzz, energy, subtle joy, enough one another. Coca-Cola not instant hit. First year, Pemberton sold about 9 glasses day, but gained traction spread beyond Atlanta. Other pharmacists, entrepreneurs created own coca drinks. Cocaine use America exploded. By 1890, dozens Coca-Cola type drinks market. Coca-Cola bought businessman Asa Candler, turned local soda fountain national brand. Cocaine everywhere. Not just drinks, over-counter medicines, products, kids, tonics, housewives exhausted domestic work. Medical establishment noticed problems almost immediately. Doctors reported cocaine addiction cases patients. But, important, didn't connect pharmaceutical industry or products like Coca-Cola. Blamed users, weak individuals couldn't control. Drugs themselves still seemed beneficial, if not abused. Class dimensions impossible ignore. When upper-class Europeans drinking Vin Mariani, American doctors using pharmaceutical cocaine, Freud writing papers benefits, that's science. Medicine, respectable. But working class started using cocaine, associated certain ethnic groups, horrifying racism, cocaine prohibition later parts. Suddenly, social problem. Suddenly, cocaine dangerous. Freud lived until 1939. Long enough see cocaine, one world's most feared restricted drugs. Long enough see early cocaine enthusiasm, permanent reputation stain. Never fully addressed publicly, never really apologized. But private writings sense regret, what ifs. What if stayed Vienna summer 1884? What if done eye experiments himself? What if more careful Fleischl Marxo? But here's Freud, probably never fully grasped. Even right choices, even Koller never discovered local anesthesia, even Fleischl Marxo never touched cocaine, wouldn't mattered, because 1884, cocaine escaped. Outworld. Pharmaceutical companies manufacturing, doctors prescribing, entrepreneurs putting drinks, tonics. Momentum unstoppable. Niemann isolated molecule 1860, Freud publicized 1884. Now 1890s, cocaine mass phenomenon. Not just medical, everyday life, soda fountains, patent medicines, workers' pockets energy, housewives relief exhaustion. Wonder drug arrived, about become monster. 1890s cocaine's golden age. Mean most ironic, tragic way. Because while Sigmund Freud quietly trying forget cocaine mistakes, rest Western world falling head over heels love drug. Doctors, lawyers, housewives, laborers, artists, soldiers, everyone trying cocaine. Brief shining moment seemed humanity finally discovered perfect drug. Spoiler, hadn't. But before nightmare coming, need understand mainstream, respectable, absolutely normal cocaine becomes century turn. 'Cause this wasn't hidden. Underground. Grandmother's medicine cabinet. Advertised family newspapers. Endorsed doctors. Approved pharmacists. Celebrated society. Let me describe America 1898. Walk local pharmacy. Remember pharmacies' social spots like coffee shops today. Behind counter, among aspirin cough syrups, digestive aids, whole section cocaine products. Cocaine toothache drops children. Cocaine nasal sprays, hay fever. Cocaine tablets, fatigue. Cocaine wine, ladies nervous, exhaustion. Nobody bats eye. Normal. One ad, Lloyd Manufacturing Company, shows small child, maybe 4, 5, smiling. Text reads, cocaine toothache drops, instantaneous cure. Price, 15 cents. Prepared Lloyd Manufacturing Co. Cheerful, friendly. Ad C, candy. Candy. Think moment. Cocaine children, teething. Advertised same casual cheer as lollipops. Or another, product rhinos hay fever catarrh remedy. Ad shows well-dressed woman using nasal applicator delicately. Fine print, if read, reveals remedy basically pure cocaine solution. Spray nose several times day, clear sinuses, yes, worked. Cocaine incredible decongestant. Also, one most addictive substances discovered. But hey, details. Pharmaceutical companies advertising cocaine content. Contains genuine cocaine selling point. Quality promise like made real butter or 100% pure. Medical establishment all in. By 1900, cocaine used surgery beyond ophthalmology. Dentists, tooth extractions. Surgeons, minor procedures. 1885, surgeon William Halsted, founding father American surgery, pioneered nerve block anesthesia. Idea simple: inject cocaine near nerve, numb whole body region without full anesthesia. Halsted's method revolutionized surgery. Still used today, though not cocaine. And Halsted himself, story darkens, discovered nerve blocks experimenting himself. Injected cocaine own nerves, repeatedly documenting effects. Process became catastrophically addicted. William Halsted spent rest life, decades, secretly struggling drug addiction. First cocaine, then morphine, trying quit. Cocaine, disappear weeks, unexplained absences, show surgery clearly influenced. But brilliant transforming American surgery, colleagues covered, enabled, looked away. Halsted died 1922, still addicted. One of America's greatest surgeons, Johns Hopkins Hospital founder, trained generations doctors, spent career fighting dependency, started self-experiment, cocaine. Sound familiar? Freud, Fleischl, Marxo, Halsted own demons. Over, pattern. Brilliant men discover cocaine power, experiment selves friends, watch helplessly destroys. But accomplished, establishment part. Addictions whispered, hidden, reframed eccentricities. Meanwhile, working-class cocaine users demonized. But get that. First talk, something doesn't get enough attention. Cocaine parties. 1890s, early 1900s, upper classes Europe, America, cocaine fashionable. Not medical cocaine, though plenty society folks too, but recreational cocaine. Parties, Paris, Vienna, New York. Wealthy young gather, finest clothes, spend evenings snorting cocaine, discussing art, philosophy, politics. Sigmund Freud himself, yes again, attended parties younger days. Description: Freud. Parisian soirée 1880s, white tie, gloves, taking small cocaine, untie tongue, make conversation easier. Future psychoanalysis father, getting high cocktail parties. And no, nobody judged. 'Cause cocaine sophisticated, refined, continental. Cultured people did. Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes creator, knew cocaine culture. Stories: Holmes famously uses cocaine. Quick, Watson, needle. Remember line? Holmes not portrayed drug addict modern sense. Brilliant eccentric uses cocaine, stimulate mind, bored between cases. Presented quirk, not crisis. Portrayal, not fictional. Doyle trained physician, read medical literature, knew doctors prescribed cocaine. Probably tried himself. Wrote Holmes using cocaine, reflecting actual social attitudes. Cocaine used intelligent, disciplined people tool, pharmaceutical aid genius. Working class though, different story. Early 1900s. Cocaine trickled expensive pharmaceutical prep society parties, cheaper, accessible forms. Cocaine sold bars, saloons, working-class areas. And suddenly, drug perfectly respectable European doctors, American society ladies using became terrifying social menace. Let's introduce ugliest chapters story, racist panic over cocaine. Starting around 1900, exploding 1910s, American newspapers ran sensational stories cocaine affects African Americans. Stories, warned disturbing, claimed cocaine gave black men superhuman strength, immune pain, made violent, sexually aggressive white women. None true. Cocaine doesn't make bulletproof, doesn't give superhuman strength. But facts didn't matter, fear did. Fear weaponized. One infamous 1914 article, New York Times, respectable newspaper, described Negro cocaine fiends, new Southern menace. Article claimed cocaine made black men dangerous, harder kill. Southern police switching larger caliber weapons deal. Again, none true. Racist propaganda, pure, simple, spread wildfire. Police chiefs testified Congress, Negro cocaine problem. Doctors published articles, cocaine affected races differently, no scientific basis. Politicians used cocaine panic, justified Jim Crow laws, argue stricter segregation, push harsher policing black communities. Here's perverse logic. When white doctors, wealthy socialites used cocaine, medicine, recreation. When black laborers, working-class whites, used same drug, crime wave. Drug didn't change. Chemistry didn't change. Only changed who using, who watching. And not just America. Germany, Weimar period, 1920s, cocaine culture exploded Berlin. Cabaret scene fueled. Artists, performers, writers, prostitutes, soldiers back World War I, everyone using cocaine. Berlin, 1920s, wild, decadent, creative, thoroughly coked up. German filmmaker Fritz Lang later fled America, made classics like Metropolis, reportedly heavy cocaine user. Entire German film industry, cocaine problem. Famous El Dorado nightclub Berlin. People saw drag jazz, nicknamed Cocaine Cathedral. But here's politically interesting. Nazi Party, rose power early 1930s, used cocaine boogeyman. Blamed cocaine along everything, blamed Jewish people, communists, degenerates, Weimar moral decay. Hitler power, one first moves crack down cocaine, ban, raid nightclubs, arrest users. Irony, Nazi military soon won history's most drug-fueled forces. But not cocaine. Using methamphetamine, brand Pervitin, story another time. Point, Nazis didn't care drug use, cared control, deciding who allowed use, what punished. Back America, noose tightening cocaine. 1914, Harrison Narcotics Tax Act passed, officially tax law. Could possess cocaine, just register, pay tax, but practice, criminalized possession anyone not licensed medical pro. Cocaine went over-counter, effectively illegal overnight. And Coca-Cola, remember? Company quietly reducing cocaine content early 1900s, officially removed entirely 1903, but chemical analysis later showed trace amounts remained least 1929. Company still uses coca leaf extract today, special DEA exemption, but cocaine removed before added drink. Imagine. World's famous soft drink still technically made coca leaves, just fun part taken out. By 1920, cocaine's golden age over. Marketed wonder drug, cure-all, harmless stimulant, now dangerous narcotic. Doctors prescribed freely, now faced prison. Pharmaceutical companies quietly removed products. Ads once celebrated cocaine, now pretended never existed. But Prohibition thing doesn't make drugs vanish, drives underground. 1920s, 1930s, cocaine didn't disappear, shifted pharmacies, speakeasies, respectable medicine, illicit trade. Cocaine market legal, regulated, pharmaceutical became illegal, unregulated, criminal. Meant more danger, violence, unpredictable purity, deaths. And people using cocaine, especially working class, especially color, not suddenly cured addictions, cocaine illegal, just became criminals. Arrest, imprisonment, social stigma. Drug war begun. Cocaine first major casualty. Doctors, interestingly, could still access pharmaceutical cocaine. Remained legal medical use, still is. Technically, cocaine Schedule II controlled substance United States, meaning accepted medical uses but high abuse potential. Occasionally used ear, nose, throat surgery, effective local anesthetic, vasoconstrictor. So same drug, working-class people imprisoned possessing, doctors could use legally. That's not hypocrisy. System working designed. 1930s, 1940s. Cocaine faded public consciousness. World War II dominated. Post-war 1950s boom. More alcohol, increasingly barbiturates, amphetamines. Cocaine seemed relic, bygone era, Victorian oddity, Belle Epoque excess. 1950s medical textbooks barely mentioned outside historical uses. Whole generation grew never hearing. Asked 1960 teenager, cocaine, probably no idea, talking. But cocaine, not gone, sleeping. South America, Peru, Bolivia, Colombia. Coca still grown. Indigenous people still chewed coca leaves 8,000 years. Shadows, back rooms, border towns, port cities. Small illegal cocaine trade continued, low level, unnoticed, waiting. What nobody understood yet, politicians banned cocaine, doctors stopped prescribing, pharmaceutical companies moved other products. Cocaine story far over. Molecule, Niemann isolated 1860, Freud celebrated 1884, fueled 1890s pharmaceutical boom. 1910s moral panic. Molecule stage, most spectacular comeback drug history. Because 1970s, everything change. New generation discover cocaine. New networks form supply. New cartels build empires. And violence, staggering, almost unimaginable violence, make 1910s moral panics look quaint comparison. From sacred leaf, miracle medicine, social menace, forgotten relic, cocaine already quite journey. But wildest part, where cocaine truly conquer world, generate billions dollars, kill hundreds, thousands people, corrupt governments, destabilize nations. Part just beginning. Cocaine woke 1970, woke hungry. 3 decades, cocaine mostly forgotten. Relic Victorian excess, footnote medical textbooks, something grandfather vaguely remembered pre-wars. But 1970s perfect cocaine comeback. 1960s counterculture normalized drug try. Marijuana everywhere. LSD youth movement synonym. And people, especially wealthy, looking next thing. Something glamorous, something not make drop join commune. Something make feel God without question system. Enter cocaine again, but time different. Because time cocaine not pharmaceutical companies Germany, American drugstores. Coming Colombia. People bringing not doctors, chemists, white coats. Criminals, entrepreneurs, violence, visionaries. About build empire, dwarf anything Spanish achieved Potosi silver. Let tell how cocaine conquered Hollywood, Wall Street, disco, all leaving trail bodies 3 continents. 1970s cocaine revival started quietly. Late 1960s, early 1970s, small cocaine amounts began appearing wealthy neighborhoods, Los Angeles, New York, Miami. Expensive, really expensive. Gram might cost $100, today's money like $700 more. Not working class drug, exclusive elite, know someone, knew someone. Part right circles. And exclusivity, part appeal. Cocaine became celebrity drug almost immediately. Musicians loved, gave energy, long recording sessions, performances. Actors loved, made confident, charismatic, ready anything. Studio execs loved, let work 18-hour days without tired. And everyone loved, made boring parties interesting, interesting parties legendary. Mid-1970s, cocaine everywhere. Hollywood, mean everywhere. Stories well documented. Recording studios keeping cocaine bowls, tables like candy. Movie sets, cast crew take energy breaks, really group cocaine sessions. Nightclubs, cocaine passed openly cocktails. Studio 54, New York, no disco culture, no Studio 54, basically cocaine temple. Club opened 1977, immediately epicenter, cocaine-fueled excess. Celebrities, models, artists, socialites crammed Manhattan nightclub. Dancing Dawn, fueled Champagne Mountains cocaine. Owner Steve Rubel, not shy, later admitted cocaine everywhere, club part atmosphere. Couldn't separate Studio 54 cocaine more than music, lights. Federal agents raided Club 1978. Found garbage bags, cash, tax evasion evidence. But everyone knew real story. Studio 54 cocaine empire disguised nightclub. West Coast, music industry even worse, or better, perspective. Fleetwood Mac famously spent $1 million cocaine recording album Rumors, 1977. $1 million cocaine, one album. And not unusual, just successful rock band 1970s. Cocaine fit perfectly era aesthetic. 1960s, dropping out, tuning in, questioning authority. But 1970s, especially late 1970s, early 1980s, success, making money, ambition. Cocaine, perfect drug mindset. Didn't make contemplate universe, achieve spiritual enlightenment. Made want work, hustle, best, win. Wall Street traders started using cocaine, power all-night sessions. Whole work hard, play hard 1980s finance mentality fueled cocaine. Former traders described entire trading floors cocaine use. Normalized, senior traders mentor younger manage cocaine use, not interfere performance. One former Wall Street trader, not name alive, described routine early 1980s. Wake, coffee cocaine, start day. Mid-morning slump, more cocaine. After work drinks, cocaine. Late night client dinner, cocaine. Weekend party, obviously cocaine. Estimated spending $500 week cocaine, 1980s money substantial, but making hundreds, thousands year. Felt affordable, manageable, lifestyle part, until wasn't. Now, while glamorous cocaine use happening New York, Los Angeles, something very different. Much darker happening Colombia. See, cocaine doesn't appear, someone make. 1970s, someone increasingly Colombian traffickers getting very good jobs. Process turning coca leaves cocaine complex. Need massive leaf quantities. Takes about 300 pounds coca leaves produce 1 pound pure cocaine. Then chemicals, sulfuric acid, kerosene, cement, potassium permanganate. Need time, space, knowledge. Most important, way get finished product South American jungles knows as wealthy Americans, Europeans. Early 1970s, trade small scale. Individual smugglers carry few kilos, time, hidden luggage, swallowed balloons. Risk reward, terrible. Caught, prison decades. But succeeded, make enough money, change life. Then someone better idea. What if industrialized? Enter Medellín Cartel. Specifically, enter Pablo Escobar. Now, need understand Escobar. Not street thug lucky, brilliant, ruthless businessman operated outside law. Escobar looked cocaine trade saw inefficiency everywhere. Individual smugglers alone, no coordination, no infrastructure, no protection. Thought, can better. Starting late 1970s, Escobar began consolidating cocaine trade Colombia. brought producers, smugglers, distributors, one organization. Established relationships coca growers, Peru, Bolivia. Remember, most coca still grown in those countries. Built processing labs, Colombian jungle, massive facilities produce hundreds kilos cocaine month. Developed smuggling routes Central America, Caribbean, Mexico. Got violent, incredibly, strategically violent. Competed Escobar. Two choices, join or die. Murdered rivals, murdered police officers wouldn't bribe. Murdered judges prosecute. Murdered journalists wrote him. Did consistently, systematically, people learned, don't cross Pablo Escobar. Early 1980s, Medellín Cartel, Escobar's group, partners Carlos later, Ochoa brothers, others shipping tons cocaine United States month. Tons. Not flying, few kilos hidden suitcases. Using planes, boats, submarines. Pilots, mechanics, logistics coordinators. Legitimate businesses, money laundering. Politicians, payroll. Escobar became one world's richest men. Peak, Forbes estimated net worth over $30 billion. $30 billion cocaine. Give sense scale. Escobar reportedly spent $2,500 a month, rubber bands wrapped cash. Much physical currency stored in warehouses, rats occasionally ate. Hundreds, thousands, dollars, unnoticed. Once burned $2 million cash keep daughter warm, hiding authorities, mountains. Not wealth, different existence, category. But here's important. All money, power, built. Supplying cocaine wealthy Americans, Europeans wanted party. Every line snorted, Studio 54. Every bump, Wall Street bathroom. Every gram passed, Hollywood party. Money flowing Escobar, power accumulating Medellín. People using cocaine, New York, Los Angeles, mostly didn't think came from. Just there, available, seen part. But every dollar spent cocaine funding, one history's most violent criminal organizations. And violence. Colombia, staggering. Between 1975–1993, over 1,000 police officers killed. Medellín alone. Cartel assassinated justice minister, presidential candidate, countless judges, prosecutors. 1989, bombed Avianca Flight 203, killing 110 people. Bored, just kill one person, wasn't even plane. Set bombs, shopping centers, government buildings, newspaper offices. Turned Medellín war zone. All protect cocaine trade. Now, while Medellín Cartel building empire, something else happening. Change cocaine trajectory forever. Invention, crack. Early 1980s, someone, don't know exactly who, probably multiple independently, figured mix cocaine powder, baking soda, water, heat, get smokable crystalline form cocaine. This crack cocaine, sold small, cheap quantities. Instead, buying gram, $100, buy rock, $5, $10. Suddenly, cocaine not just rich anymore. Crack hit American inner cities, bomb mid-1980s. Los Angeles, New York, Detroit, Chicago, Washington, D.C. Entire neighborhoods devastated. Because crack cheap, accessible poor communities. 'Cause smoke, high, immediate, intensely euphoric. But lasted minutes, meant immediately want more. Addiction cycle, vicious, fast. And response, law enforcement, politicians. Racist, hypocritical, catastrophic. 1980s. While wealthy white people using powder cocaine parties relatively little legal consequence, poor black communities using crack treated enemy combatants. Anti-Drug Abuse Act, 1986. established mandatory minimum sentences drug offenses, sentencing disparity staggering. Possessing 5 grams crack, same 5-year mandatory minimum. Possessing 500 grams powder cocaine. Same drug, chemically, but crack associated black users, powder white users. Crack offenses punished 100 times harsher. Not accident. Policy destroyed generation. Hundreds, thousands black men imprisoned decades crack offenses. Families torn. Communities lost fathers, brothers, sons. War drugs. President Reagan declared 1982 not really drugs, control. Criminalizing poverty, mass incarceration. Meanwhile, cocaine kept flowing. Because prohibition doesn't stop drug use, just determines who profits, who prison. Late 1980s, cocaine everywhere. Nowhere. Drug choice, celebrities, Wall Street traders. But public talk, taboo. Devastating inner cities. Politicians cared, used tough crime photo ops, funding one history's most violent criminal organizations. But American consumers mostly didn't think connection. Cocaine normalized certain circles. People genuinely believed use casually without consequences. Idea, completely false. Cocaine not really addictive, soft drug, use recreationally, weekends fine. And some people may be true. While, but others discovered couldn't stop. Lost jobs, families, savings. Graduated. Powder, crack, cheaper for them. Glamour disappeared quick. Thing cocaine, deceptive, unlike heroin, makes visibly intoxicated, physically dependent. Cocaine makes feel productive, energetic, social, confident. Easy convince fine control. Using drug instead drug using you. Until they realize spending $500 week something destroying life. Can't remember exactly when things got hand. By 1990, cocaine completed journey. Victorian miracle medicine, disco fuel, urban nightmare. Made billionaires. Colombia destroyed communities, America. Simultaneously glamorized, demonized, celebrated, criminalized, depending who, using who, watching. And Pablo Escobar, height, power, but walls closing. Colombian government, backed American money, DEA agents, hunting. Rival cartels challenging dominance. Violence escalating beyond control. Escobar killed Colombian police, 1993. Shot rooftop Medellín, trying escape. Death celebrated. Victory. War drugs. Politicians, speeches. Law enforcement, credit. Sense, maybe finally, cocaine epidemic ending. But here's didn't understand. Still don't. Escobar, not problem. Symptom. Problem, demand. Millions people. Wealthy countries wanted cocaine, willing pay. Long demand existed, someone supply. Escobar's death didn't end cocaine trade, just changed management. Medellín Cartel fell, Cali Cartel rose. When Cali Cartel dismantled, Mexican cartels took trafficking routes. Cocaine kept flowing. Violence continued. Only changed names, faces, running trade. Because fundamental truth, cocaine, lesson 8,000 years history, should taught, somehow hasn't. Can't stop drug, criminalizing. Only decide who profits, who suffers. So far, cocaine's long history, people profit, rarely one suffer. Story continues. Violence escalates, trade adapts, evolves. We'll explore, goes here. When Pablo Escobar died, Medellín rooftop, December 1993, World exhaled. Monster dead. War won. Cocaine surely fade. Shadows. Except didn't. Not close. What happened instead, arguably worse. Because Escobar, all brutality, maintained certain order. Predictable, rational, twisted way. New rules. Work him. Stay silent or die. Simple. Terrible simple. When fell, order collapsed. What rose, ashes, chaos. Fragmented, hyper-violent free-for-all. Dozens smaller cartels, criminal organizations fought cocaine trade control. Violence didn't decrease, multiplied. And cocaine found new routes, new bosses, new ways reach same eager customers. North America, Europe. Welcome modern cocaine trade, where product pure, route sophisticated, body count almost impossible track. Let's start question. Know where cocaine comes? Obviously, most aren't cocaine users, hope. But stay, question matters because 1990s, 2000s, cocaine transformed Colombian monopoly truly global enterprise. Understanding transformation helps understand why 30 years post-Escobar death, cocaine more available, pure, cheaper ever. After Medellín Cartel fell, Cali Cartel, Escobar's main rival, briefly dominated trade. Cali Cartel different. Businessmen, not cowboys. Wore suits, not jeans. Preferred bribes bullets, though used bullets necessary. Called Gentleman Cali. Leaders, Gilberto Miguel Rodriguez Orejuela, ran Cartel Corporation. Accountants, lawyers, logistics experts. Diversified, investing drug money legitimate businesses, pharmacies, radio stations, soccer teams. Donated charities, built hospitals, positioned respectable Colombian society members. Incredibly successful. Peak mid-1990s, Cali Cartel controlled estimated 80% world's cocaine supply. But building massive centralized criminal organization makes target. Colombian government, heavy American support, launched aggressive campaign Cali Cartel. 1-1, leaders arrested. Gilberto Rodriguez captured 1995, Miguel 1996. Early 2000s, Cali Cartel effectively dismantled. Once again, everyone celebrated. Another cartel destroyed, another victory war drugs. Except cocaine trade didn't stop, evolved. What emerged 2000s, far difficult fight. Decentralization. Instead, 1-2 massive cartels targeted, destroyed. Cocaine trade fragmented dozens smaller organizations. Groups, sometimes boutique cartels, leaner, flexible, harder to detect. Didn't control entire countries, controlled specific routes, neighborhoods, supply chain aspects, outsourced dangerous part, getting cocaine United States. Mexican trafficking organizations turned catastrophically bad idea everyone except Mexican cartels. See, Mexican cartels worked Colombian suppliers decades, middlemen smuggling cocaine US-Mexico border, but always junior partners. Colombians produced cocaine, set prices, kept biggest profits. Mexicans moved, but Colombian cartels weakened. Mexican organizations saw opportunity, started demanding larger cut, then started buying directly cocaine producers Colombia, cutting middlemen, then started taking payment product instead cash. Let's sell directly American distributors keep profit. Late 2000s, Mexican cartels essentially taken control cocaine trade United States. Brought violence level made Escobar look restrained. Sinaloa Cartel led Joaquin El Chapo Guzman became powerful drug trafficking organization Western Hemisphere. El Chapo, Shorty, brilliant, ruthless, somehow both utterly brutal, weirdly charismatic, bribed officials every level Mexican government, built tunnels U.S.-Mexico border, sophisticated tunnels, rail systems, ventilation, lighting, used submarines transport cocaine. Submarines, custom-built semi-submersible vessels carry tons cocaine underwater. Nearly impossible to detect. But El Chapo's biggest innovation, not technological, strategic, understood controlling drug routes, more valuable controlling drug production. Colombia make cocaine, but control got American consumers, control profit. So Sinaloa focused logistics, relationships, building unbreakable supply chain, Colombian labs, American streets. When rivals threatened supply chain, Sinaloa Cartel responded overwhelming violence. But Sinaloa, not alone. Zetas, originally former Mexican Special Forces soldiers recruited Gulf Cartel, then split. Own, even more terrifying. Guys' military training, discipline, weaponry, didn't just kill rivals, tortured, mutilated, displayed bodies publicly. Warnings, pioneered narcomantas, banners hung public places, messages threatening enemies, recorded execution videos distributed online. Zetas not trying fly radar, trying inspire fear, total, absolute, no one dare oppose. Between 2006-2012, Mexican drug war killed over 60,000 people. 60,000, 6 years. Those confirmed deaths. Real number almost certainly higher. Entire towns caught crossfire. Journalists reported cartel violence murdered. Between 2000-2020, over 100 journalists killed Mexico, most covering cartels. Police officers, mayors, judges, all targets. Mass graves discovered containing dozens, sometimes hundreds bodies. And all violence, death, funded American European cocaine users. Every line snorted party, every bump nightclub bathroom, every gram sold college campus. Money flowed south, hands organizations turning Mexico war zone. Most users never thought connection. Cocaine just appeared, available. What happened? Mexico, Colombia, transit countries between, felt distant, abstract, not problem. But problem because demand drives supply. Long, wealthy countries demanded cocaine, someone supply. No matter how many died, process. Now, tell something doesn't talked enough. Environmental cost cocaine. Every year, hundreds, thousands acres rainforest, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, cleared plant coca. Not carefully cleared, chainsawed, burned, destroyed. These not agricultural companies following environmental rules. Criminal organizations don't care sustainability, conservation. Care maximizing coca production. Then process coca leaves cocaine. Traffickers use enormous quantities toxic chemicals. Sulfuric acid, kerosene, cement, acetone, hydrochloric acid. Where chemicals go after cocaine extracted. Rivers, soil, water supply, local communities depend. Rivers Colombia essentially dead. Poisoned decades cocaine production, chemicals dumped directly water. Fish populations collapsed. Communities depended rivers drinking water, fishing devastated. One study estimated cocaine production Colombia alone, responsible destruction over 800,000 hectares rainforest, 2001-2018. Roughly 2 million acres, area larger Delaware, gone, cut, burned. Turned coca fields abandoned, few years, soil exhausted. Then more forest destroyed, plant new fields. Nobody talks 'cause think cocaine costs, think addiction, crime, violence. Don't think ecosystems, indigenous communities displaced, ancestral lands, species extinct, habitat destroyed, grow crop turned drug. Someone snort, Manhattan nightclub forget 20 minutes later. Cost, cocaine, not just human lives. Destroyed landscapes, poisoned rivers, extinct species. True price, almost incomprehensible. Meanwhile, consuming countries, cocaine experiencing another renaissance. 2000s, 2010s, cocaine became fashionable again after 1980s crack epidemic gave cocaine dirty reputation. Powder cocaine slowly rehabilitated wealthy users, became drug choice young professionals, tech workers, Silicon Valley, finance bros, London, New York. Purity increased dramatically. 1980s, street cocaine might 30–40% pure. Cut everything, baby laxatives, local anesthetics. 2010s, purity levels major cities often exceeded 70–80%. Better production techniques, better quality control. Cartels understood purer product commanded higher prices, loyal customers. Price adjusted, inflation dropped. Cocaine became more available, pure, cheaper. Exact opposite decades drug war enforcement supposed to achieve. European consumption exploded. UK, Spain, Italy, Netherlands. Cocaine use increased dramatically 2000s. Spain, historical ties Latin America, extensive coastline became major entry point cocaine Europe. Port Antwerp, Belgium, another major hub. European criminal organizations, Italian mafias, Albanian networks, Irish gangs partnered Latin American cartels. Bring cocaine Atlantic shipping containers, hidden legitimate cargo. 2020, over 200 tons cocaine seized Europe. 200 tons just caught. Law enforcement estimates seizures represent maybe 10–20% total traffic. Means over 1,000 tons cocaine entered Europe year. 1,000 tons. Think moment, not drug problem. Industry. Organizations moving cocaine, not small-time criminals. Sophisticated international networks, resources rival legitimate corporations. Used encrypted communications, money laundering schemes involving cryptocurrency shell companies. Corrupted officials, dozens countries. Essentially, multinational corporations operate outside law. War drugs, despite decades' effort, hundreds, billions dollars spent, failed reduce cocaine availability. If anything, cocaine more available ever. Mexican cartels evolved junior partners, dominant forces. European consumption skyrocketed. Source countries, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia. Coca cultivation continued despite eradication efforts. Alternative development programs, billions anti-drug aid. Why? Economics irresistible. Colombian farmer make 10 times more growing coca legal crops. Mexican smuggler earn more, one successful shipment, years legitimate work. American dealer make thousands dollars week, minimal capital. American, European users buy night's cocaine, less nice dinner. Every chain link incentivized keep trade going. Prohibition, rather stopping trade, ensures profits flow. Criminals, regulated businesses, disputes settled, violence, courts. 2020, global cocaine production all-time high. UN Office Drugs Crime reported coca cultivation Colombia alone exceeded 200,000 hectares, more any history point. Total global cocaine production estimated nearly 2,000 metric tons year. 2,000 tons. Enough pure cocaine give every United States person about 6 grams year, just produced. Who knows much unreported, undetected, unaccounted. Cartels become sophisticated, pioneering new technologies. Drones fly cocaine border walls. Narco submarines cross Pacific Ocean. Custom-built ships, hidden compartments well-designed pass inspection. Laboratories, hidden jungle produce hundreds kilos day, industrial efficiency. Violence continued. Mexico, Jalisco New Generation Cartel CJNG rose. Challenged Sinaloa dominance, sparking new murders wave. Colombia. Despite 2016 peace deal, FARC guerrillas involved cocaine production, violence persisted. Other groups fought territory trafficking routes. Death toll hard calculate. Count obvious murders? Cartel hits, police shootings, execution videos. Sure, but overdose deaths? Communities destroyed. Addiction? Children orphaned. Violence. Journalists silenced. Politicians corrupted. Judges intimidated. Inaction. Conservative estimates suggest over 500,000 people killed Latin America's cocaine-related violence, 1970s. 500,000. More entire U.S. death toll, World War II. For what? Wealthy people, developed countries, feel energized. Parties. Moral calculus impossible. Balance. Weigh pleasure cocaine users against suffering. Everyone trades wake. Justify system. Profit. Most users, high-level traffickers rarely face consequences. While poor farmers, low-level dealers, entire communities bear costs. Can't, no way make sense. Yet continues, year, decade. Trade adapts, evolves, finds new routes, markets, ways deliver cocaine people want. Which brings today. World cocaine more available ever. Cartels more powerful ever. Despite no costs, human, environmental, social, trade continues unabated. Question becomes, what now? Where go? How break cycle persisted? 50 years intensive drug war enforcement. Answer, explore. Might require completely rethink everything. Think no, drugs, prohibition, human nature. Cocaine still legal. Sort. Right now, listening. Hospitals, surgical centers. United States pharmaceutical-grade cocaine-locked cabinets. Doctors. Legitimate, licensed doctors prescribe. DEA tracks every gram. Completely legal, specific medical uses. Cocaine, Schedule II controlled substance. U.S. government officially recognizes accepted medical applications. Insane? Same substance fueled 50 years drug war violence, destroyed communities, gotten millions arrested, imprisoned. Also considered medicine. Paradox, absolute contradiction, tells everything need no think drugs. Rather, don't think rationally. Let explain cocaine, still used medically, genuinely fascinating. Ear, nose, throat surgeons, ENT specialists, occasionally use cocaine certain procedures. Why? Cocaine only local anesthetic. Also causes blood vessels constrict. Operating nose, blood vessels tiny, numerous, reducing bleeding crucial. Cocaine numbs area, stops bleeding simultaneously. Perfect drug job. Brand name usually cocaine hydrochloride topical solution. Comes 4% 10% concentrations. Hospital might use few hundred milligrams year. Tightly controlled, carefully documented. Costs hospital about $150 gram. Ironically, roughly cocaine costs street, though medical version. Pure street version, well, who knows, cut. Here's question make uncomfortable. If cocaine legitimate medical uses, used safely, proper supervision, problem not molecule. Used distributed, actually doing prohibition. Protecting people, deciding allowed use, cocaine goes prison. Question leads somewhere, makes many uncomfortable. Go together. Imagine moment cocaine never criminalized. Instead, Prohibition, 1914, governments decided regulate cocaine like alcohol, tobacco. Need certain age by. Purity standards, dosage guidelines, warning labels. Taxed. Revenue government services, addiction treatment, not cartels. Alternate timeline, Pablo Escobar? Mexican cartel violence. Coca farmers Colombia forced choose poverty criminality. Destroyed 2 million acres rainforest. No, obviously. 'Cause violence, environmental destruction, corruption doesn't come cocaine. Comes cocaine illegal. What drug policy experts call iron law prohibition. More crackdown drug, more potent, dangerous drug becomes. Why? Risk years prison smuggle drugs, once smuggle valuable, concentrated form possible. Don't smuggle coca leaves, bulky, low value. Smuggle pure cocaine, compact, high value. Prohibition creates economic incentive dangerous drug forms. Ensures profits, go criminals. Regulated businesses pay taxes, follow rules. Now here thinking, legalized cocaine, everyone start using, addiction rates explode? Reasonable fear, history suggests wrong. Tell Portugal. 2001, Portugal facing massive heroin crisis, about 1% population, 100,000 people, country, 10 million, addicted heroin. Overdose deaths highest Europe. HIV infection rates, needle sharing catastrophic. Criminal justice system overwhelmed. Portugal did radical, decriminalized drugs. Not legalized, different. Decriminalized. Possession, small amounts, administrative offense. Like parking ticket, not criminal. Instead arrest, imprisonment, users referred. Dissuasion commissions offered treatment, social support, harm reduction services. What happened? Drug use explode? Portugal become narco state? No, drug use decreased slightly. More important, overdose deaths dropped over 80%. HIV infections plummeted. People seeking treatment increased dramatically. Weren't afraid, arrest. Crime rates, drugs fell. Criminal justice system focus violent crime prosecuting drug users. 20 years later, Portugal's drug policy considered successful. Public health interventions, modern history, based simple principle. Treat drug use health issue, not criminal justice issue. Switzerland, similar heroin. 1990s, established supervised injection sites. Users consume heroin safe, clean conditions, medical supervision. Started prescribing pharmaceutical heroin. Chronic addicts failed other treatments. Sounds crazy, right? Government giving heroin addicts? But worked. Overdose deaths dropped, crime rates fell. Addicts didn't steal, buy drugs. Employment participants increased, maintained stable lives. Many participants eventually transitioned, treatment, stopped using. Swiss program running 25 years, studied extensively. Evidence overwhelming, saves lives, reduces crime, costs far less incarceration. Examples: heroin, not cocaine. Principle applies. Prohibition doesn't prevent drug use, makes drug use dangerous. Regulation, treatment, harm reduction work. So why not change course? Partly politics. Politicians terrified labeled soft drugs, saying decriminalize cocaine, political suicide most countries. Evidence suggests reduce harm. War drugs ideologically entrenched. Questioning feels questioning gravity. Partly money. War drugs massive industry. Law enforcement agencies, private prisons, drug testing companies, defense contractors selling equipment fight narco trafficking. Billions invested. Interests depend prohibition continuing. DEA's annual budget over $3 billion. U.S. spending drug control exceeds $50 billion annually. Lot jobs, contracts, reasons maintain status quo, even not working. Partly racism, classism though nobody admits. Cocaine prohibition, U.S. always entangled racial politics. Harrison Act, 1914 passed partly racist fears black cocaine users. Crack powder sentencing disparity, discussed explicitly racist effect, not intent. War drugs disproportionately targeted color communities, largely ignoring drug use wealthy whites. If primary victims drug prohibition, wealthy white people. Instead, poor black, brown people. Anyone seriously believes still pursuing same policies? No. Reformed decades ago. But here's gives hope. Attitudes changing. Slowly changing. 2020. Oregon first U.S. state. Decriminalize possession, small amounts drugs including cocaine. Law redirected marijuana tax revenue, addiction, treatment, recovery services. Direct Portugal model. Early results mixed. Implementing new policies, pandemic challenging. Philosophical shift significant. 2023. Canada started discussing decriminalization seriously. Several European countries moving harm reduction approaches. Even conservative politicians, some countries quietly acknowledging war drugs failed. Latin America, countries borne brunt cocaine prohibition violence. Growing frustration U.S. drug policy. Former presidents Colombia, Mexico, Brazil publicly called drug legalization decriminalization, arguing countries destroyed protect U.S. prohibition policies don't work. 2016. Juan Manuel Santos, then Colombia president, gave UN speech said time change strategy. After decades fighting drug trafficking, must acknowledge. War haven't won, perhaps never win, merely law enforcement strategies. Sitting president, country ground zero cocaine violence. Essentially saying prohibition problem, not solution. But change slow, because here's uncomfortable truth. Current system, broken, serves certain interests. Gives law enforcement enormous power. Fills prisons, benefits prison industry. Provides justification military aid interventions Latin America. Allows politicians look tough crime. Keeps drug profits cartels' hands, who perversely probably don't want legalization either, destroy business model. Everyone except users. Communities destroyed, violence, families torn, incarceration, countries devastated trafficking. Everyone except actual victims, reason maintains status quo. Meanwhile, cocaine continues flow. Despite decades interdiction, billions spent enforcement, hundreds, thousands arrests, cocaine more available ever. Street price, adjusted inflation lower 1980s. Purity higher. Supply essentially unlimited. Every measurable metric, availability, price, purity, war drugs failed reduce cocaine supply, succeeded generating violence, mass incarceration, environmental destruction, human suffering almost incomprehensible scale. And here's really maddening part. No works. Evidence, Portugal, Switzerland, supervised injection sites Europe. Data showing treatment far cost-effective incarceration. Harm reduction saves lives. Regulation works better prohibition. But keep doing same expecting different results, saying definition insanity. Let clear something. Not saying cocaine harmless. Not. Cocaine powerful, potentially addictive drug, destroy lives. People can develop serious problems cocaine use, not pretending cocaine safe. Acknowledging prohibition makes cocaine dangerous less. Criminalizing users doesn't help recover, ruins lives different ways. Spending billions enforcement, cutting funding, treatment backward. Current system serves everyone, supposedly protecting people. So rational drug policy look like? Do actually want to reduce harm rather punish? Treat addiction health issue. Fund treatment recovery services instead prisons. Establish quality control purity standards users know consuming. Implement harm reduction, supervised consumption sites, drug checking services, naloxone distribution, overdose prevention. Redirect billions currently spent enforcement, education, treatment, social services. Yes, probably move regulated legalization, not free-for-all. System, production, distribution controlled, age restrictions apply, tax revenue funds treatment, prevention. Eliminate all cocaine problems? No. People still develop addictions, people still make bad choices. Far fewer die, far fewer communities destroyed. Violence end, environmental destruction stop. Incarceration cycle traps generations break. Not perfect solution, better solution doing now. Tragedy no. Drug policy experts no. Public health officials no. Even many law enforcement officials privately admit war drugs unwinnable. But political will change course almost non-existent. Afraid first say emperor no clothes. So cocaine's empire probably continue now. Trade keep adapting, evolving, finding new routes, methods. People keep using, some develop problems, some die. Violence continue producing transit countries. Environmental destruction worsen. We'll keep spending billions enforcement doesn't work, underfunding treatment does. Unless enough people decide better way, unless build political will actually change course. Unless stop repeating failed approaches, start listening evidence. Choice face, time running out. Not just policy, though need better policy. People whose lives hang in balance. Addicts need treatment. Communities destroyed violence. Farmers trapped illegal economy. Prisoners serving decades drug offenses. Ecosystems decimated. Every day continue current policies. Human environmental cost accumulates. Every day fail, act no. More people die. More families destroyed. More regions destabilized. Cocaine conquered empires. Maybe time stopped letting conquer us. We've traveled 8,000 years together tonight. From Andean peaks where coca first chewed. Laboratories isolated. Nightclubs celebrated. Battlefields fought over. 8,000 years. One plant's journey human civilization. Somehow, impossibly ended here. World cocaine simultaneously. Everywhere. Nowhere. Legal, illegal. Medicine, poison. Cultural heritage, criminal commodity. So, let's ask something. What actually learned? Because one lesson screams every chapter story. never learn. Incas used coca. Control workers extract maximum labor, exhausted bodies. Spanish saw exploitation, said, can make worse, did. Building empire, coca-fueled genocide. Victorian doctors discovered cocaine, declared miracle cure, ignoring addiction warning signs. 20th century prohibitionists criminalized, launched war, killed hundreds, thousands. 21st century society, still making same mistakes, just better technology. Every generation thinks figured cocaine. Every generation wrong. But maybe understanding full-scope history helped break cycle. Because cocaine story, not really cocaine. Us, power, control, decides. Medicine, poison. Ways use drugs cope. Society demands. Ways societies use drug policy, control populations. Let tell struck most researching story. Not violence, though violence staggering. Not hypocrisy, though breathtaking. Continuity. Inca worker chewing coca survives 16-hour mind shift. Wall Street trader snorting cocaine, power 80-hour work week. Different centuries, different technologies, same fundamental dynamic. People using stimulant meet impossible demand society places. Spanish colonial official justifying coca distribution economy depends. American politician 2020s opposing drug reform, law enforcement jobs depend. Same logic, same outcome. Preserving harmful system, dismantling inconvenient power. Inca emperor restricting coca elite using control laborers. Modern society criminalizing crack, tolerating powder cocaine. Same class-based double standard, different rhetoric. Pattern depressingly consistent. Powerful exploit profit, vulnerable suffer blamed. Drug doesn't change, human dynamics don't. Just dress different, languages pretend rational. Here's really gets. Knowledge break cycle. No prohibition doesn't work. No does work. Evidence overwhelming. Portugal, Switzerland, supervised consumption sites Europe. Models reduce harm, save lives, cost less. Current approach. But don't implement. Why? Admitting wrong 50 years politically impossible. Powerful interests benefit status quo. Easier, keep doing. Always done, try different. Even always done manifestly failing. So cocaine continues conquer. Not leaf powerful though, not chemical addictive though. Because built systems ensure conquest continues. Prohibition creates profit. Profit creates violence. Violence justifies more prohibition. Round go. Here's think lot. Right now somewhere Colombia, farmer planting coca only crop, feed family. Somewhere Mexico, young man joining cartel, only job pays enough escape poverty. Somewhere American city, teenager selling cocaine, legal economy, nothing offer. Somewhere, Manhattan, Milan, wealthy professional snorting cocaine party. Completely disconnected violence brought powder nose. Every one people making rational choice within constraints, systems created. Farmer, trafficker, dealer, user, all responding incentives put place. Then act surprised, respond exactly economics predicts. Want different outcomes, need different systems. Simple, complicated. Now don't want end story complete despair. 'Cause despite everything, violence, failed policies, political cowardice, reasons, hope. Attitudes shifting. More people, especially younger, recognize war, drugs failed. Support drug policy reform. All-time highs many countries. Conversation changing, slowly, noticeably. Science advancing, understanding addiction better, developing better treatments, learning minimize harm, even can't eliminate use. Some politicians finally finding courage advocate evidence-based policy. Not enough, not fast, happening. Andean communities' story began. Growing movement, reclaim coca cultural heritage, separate plant powder, defend traditional use, opposing cocaine trafficking. People like Evo Morales agree, politics not. Forced international community acknowledge cocaine not same. These shifts matter. Won't solve everything overnight, represent cracks prohibition edifice. Cracks, given time pressure, become breaks. Breaks become fundamental change. But change requires us, you, me, demand. Refuse accept just things. Insist policy-based evidence. Recognize own role, systems, voters, consumers, citizens. Because here's uncomfortable truth. Live wealthy country benefit cocaine prohibition. Not directly. Obviously, violence, suffering don't benefit anyone. But indirectly, systems power, control prohibition reinforces. Same logic justifies militarized drug enforcement, justifies other forms control poor communities, people, color, countries. Challenging drug prohibition means challenging other things too. Means asking criminalize poverty, militarize police, prioritize punishment, treatment, allow massive inequality. Accept some people's suffering, price other people's comfort. Not comfortable questions, but cocaine's 8,000-year history shows happens. Don't ask. Same patterns repeat generation. Same people suffering, same people profiting. So, do? Takeaway, incredibly long, complex, often depressing story? Think this. Skeptical, simple answers. Anyone tells easy solution, cocaine, just legalize everything or enforce harder, probably selling. Complex problem, deep historical roots, no magic fixes. But also demand better. Demand policy-based evidence. Demand prioritize harm reduction, punishment. Demand address root causes, poverty, inequality, trauma, drive drug use, drug trafficking. Demand stop repeating approaches failed 50 years. If use cocaine, no do. Understand full weight means. Understand chain. Suffering connects. Andean coca field, bathroom stall, Brooklyn. Don't stop. Not mom. Personal choice valid, but understand. Conscious maybe. Support policies break chain suffering. Even means cocaine becomes harder, expensive, obtain. Because ultimately, cocaine's empire exists, allow exist, created conditions, maintain conditions, policies, choices. Power create different. Won't easy, require admitting wrong, humans hate. Require changing systems, benefit powerful interests. Require international cooperation, scale, rarely achieved. Require patience, social change slow, but possible. Changed drug policies. Alcohol prohibition ended. Marijuana legalization spreading. Attitudes, drugs shifted dramatically past 20 years. Change cocaine policy too. Just decide, want. Here end journey. 8,000 years human history, refracted lens, one plant molecule contains. Sacred, profane, medicine, poison, local custom, global crisis. Cocaine conquered empires, Inca, Spanish, way, modern global empire. Because cocaine trade shapes geopolitics, influences elections, corrupts institutions, kills people. Virtually every country Earth. But empires, history teaches, eventually fall, become unsustainable, collapse. Weight own contradictions. Prohibition empire, violence, waste, failure, showing cracks. Maybe great-grandchildren look back. War, drugs, way look, alcohol prohibition, well-intentioned, catastrophically misguided. Policy took decades reverse. Maybe wonder irrational, resistant evidence. willing cause massive harm, pursuit impossible goals. Or maybe still fighting same war, making same mistakes, wondering nothing changes. Future get depends choices make now, not policymakers. Most aren't policymakers, but citizens, voters. People demand better, refuse accept just things. Belief conquered empires, still conquering today. But empires challenged, systems changed. Sometimes people seem powerless, bottom chain, suffering most. Ones finally say enough, force change happen. Maybe real lesson, cocaine's history, not doomed repeat past forever. Change possible, stop accepting unacceptable. Thanks staying through long, winding, sometimes difficult journey. 8,000 years lot cover one night. If made far, genuinely grateful, time, attention. Story, cocaine story, really story, one think often. Reveals much humans, build societies, choose, protect, punish. Not always comfortable story, important one. Hope something resonated. Whether changed mind drug policy, gave historical context, didn't, or made think differently, something thought understood. Hope worth time. Many other stories like substances, policies shaped human history, ways don't usually think. Threads connecting ancient civilizations, modern crises. Patterns repeat centuries, never quite learn lessons should. Back soon, another story might surprise, challenge, make see world little differently. Stories got here, wherever here, maybe go next. Until then, take care, kind each other, question. Things seem unjust, even everyone tells just is. And maybe help build world stories like cocaine end. Not endless tragedy, learning, growth, change. Good night, rest well. See again soon next journey through.